Hey, this is Allison Meredith with Holston and Garner IT. I'm delighted to have with us today Lisa Good, author of Are Your Kids Naked Online? So welcome, Lisa. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your big idea for the day?
Well, I'm a mom. I have four kids, just four. They range from 14 to 21. And my big idea today is just helping parents know what they don't know and how they can be more engaged in their kids' life and hopefully prevent them from making a mistake that could really cost them later down the line.
Exactly. Well, wonderful to have you with you. Let's jump right in. I'm going to lead off by sharing a story. This is a close friend of mine. And she told me how her son, who's a teenager, received a kind of a half-naked picture of a girl at his high school, which he hardly even knew the girl, doesn't even know how the girl got his phone number, did not ask for the picture. But somehow, I don't know, people found out and he got sent to the principal's office. He was suspended. He was investigated. He went through just this awful mess. And at the end of it all, he was found innocent, but he had to do community service hours as a punishment. And so my friend, the mom, she's like, what do you mean? Like, when is it against the law to give a girl your phone number? Which he's not even sure, like, and who knows if the kid gave the girl his phone number, if his friend did or whatever. But regardless, I have to kind of agree with the mom. How have we gotten to an age where people are getting punished for girls doing stupid stuff? I mean, it was the girl who has the issues, right? So that's thankfully my closest experience of it. Although I will tell you that when I told my own teenage sons that story, they're like, yeah, we've seen sex. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, just when people are passing phones around, we don't, don't worry, mom, it's not our thing. We don't encourage it, but it's out there.
Well,
So
it is.
yeah.
It absolutely is. And, just from the teens that I deal with, 9 out of 10 of them say they've either sent a sext or they've received a sext. To them, this is just like part of their everyday life. Now, for us parents, of course, we're like, oh,
Right.
But to our kids, it's like, well, that's old hat. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is there's like a lot of consequences that can happen. So
right.
do you want us to define sexting in case anyone on here doesn't
Yeah,
know
go
what
ahead and just give a quick definition, because honestly, until a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, what's that? And then when I would immediately think my kids are too good for that. That's not even a thing. Guys, I just want to emphasize, whether you've got good kids or whatever, your
Yeah.
kids are still sons of Adam and daughters of Eve, and temptation is out there. A, and B, as in the story of my friend's son, your kids are going to see stuff whether they ask for it or not. I mean,
Exactly.
they're going to get exposed to it. You've got to talk with your kids about this and figure it. Anyway, yes, define it, Lisa. How would you define sexting?
Sexting is basically just sending inappropriate photos and videos, whether they're naked or half naked, to other people, whether they requested them, didn't request them. It doesn't matter. That's just the basic definition. And to follow up on Allison's point, good kids, this is like, it doesn't matter what your religious, your economic, it doesn't matter your background whatsoever. I always tell parents, never ever underestimate the power and pull of technology and peer pressure with your kids. Just don't do it, because you'll lose every time.
Yes, there is a powerful pull of technology.
Yes.
So why is it dangerous? Let's just get into that, and then we're going to talk about some things that parents can do to protect their kids. So so Lisa, I know in your book you talk about sexting can lead to bullying, blackmail, jail time, open the door to sexual predators, causes shame, destroys opportunities. There's so much to talk about here, and this is just a quick lunchtime webinar. So by the way, guys, put your questions in the chat, put your questions on Facebook Live. We will stay after 12:15 today if you have questions for Lisa. But what do you want to focus on first, Lisa? Because there's so many reasons why it's dangerous.
Well, the first thing I want to say is there is this misconception with parents, that especially those that have boys. Now, just for the record, I have 2 girls and 2 boys. So I have both. I have the whole spectrum, just like you, Allison.
Right.
People think that only girls are sexting and forwarding photos, and that is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
In fact, Pew Research did a study last year, and believe it or not, boys are 4 times more likely to send an inappropriate photo and to forward a photo they get than girls are. It's just crazy.
Right.
So I just want to set the record straight on that. And then, like Allison said, you've got bullying, the college admissions. And this is what I have tried to hammer home with my own children, is that this may seem fun and cute to you, but it never disappears.
It
And
never disappears, right?
you've got college admissions people that are looking and they're scouring, and they have a whole like little department in a
They do.
closet somewhere
Yeah,
that is like scouring
right.
every applicant's social media everywhere. And even though you think you deleted it, you really didn't. It still exists. So
Right.
I always say, don't ever send anything that you wouldn't want me or your dad or your grandparents or even a role model of yours to see and be not okay with. That's usually what I say.
Yeah, that's a great thing to say. And we say that to our kids as well. And certainly here at Holston Garner IT, when we're hiring people, somebody stalks them on social media, right? I mean, it's just what any smart business does nowadays. You
Right.
get the resume, but now that we have social media, of course, we're just going to look.
And,
So,
and it's not just businesses.
right.
So there's a young man that contacted my daughter who's 17. And you know the first thing I did, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the first thing I did, I
Yeah.
was looking at who he is, who are his parents. You know, I'm scouring everywhere to find out who this person is and why does he want to talk to my daughter. Now, I know that's probably a little scary, but that's the
Right.
world we live in today.
Right. So, and it's hard. Kids just, when I was a high school teacher, we used to call them navel gazers, I remember, because it's that stage of life when you're a teenager, you're just totally looking at yourself and you think the rest of the world is also looking at you. And to even get them to think about long-term jobs, or even when they're 13 or 14, even thinking about college admission is like forever in the future. So
Right.
it is, I love how in your book, in conversations that you talk about, it's not one conversation, parents, it's many,
Yeah.
many, many. It's going to be hard for kids and teenagers to understand what we're saying, that there are long-term impacts. It never goes away, whatever you post. And as to the legalities, I think Abby, by the way, Abby is on the call. She's not on video, but our member of our Holston and Garner IT team. Hi, Abby. Putting her on the spot. She's probably muted. But Abby, you've got some links to share. Is that right?
Yes, I'll put them in the chat right now.
Great. So those are just, thank you, Abby. That's just links to some laws. Every state has different laws about sexting. Lisa, do you want to comment about that, or?
You know, every state does have law, but not only do you need to check with your state, if your kids are in school, you need to contact your school, because there are, as Allison explained in her first story about the kid that got the girl's phone number, even just receiving a photo and not requesting it, for our schools here in Nashville where I am, your son is automatically expelled and can be registered as a sex offender for containing child pornography, even if he didn't request that photo that young lady just sent. So I think that's another thing that parents need to be very, very respectful of, and they need to have serious conversations with their kids about, this is serious and you can really get in trouble, not just future wise, but you can get in trouble right now and it can have an impact on your life.
Right. So regarding the danger of sexting opening the door to sexual predators, I have an interesting story to share. If you were on yesterday's webinar, you heard me share some stories about my son, John, which I don't have a son named John, name changed from anonymity. But when I was reading one of his Discord chats, I was a little surprised to find he's having these chats with girls from all over, and boys, just people that he had played a League of Legends game with. And you can easily open up a chat, and that was a good game, was it? So my son, John, had just thrown a picture of himself in the chat. Hey, this is my picture and I live in Tennessee. Where do you live? And a young lady had texted back, here's a picture of me and I live in Malaysia. And I was like, oh. So I shared yesterday how I was obviously motivated to have yet another conversation. We do not, and my husband participated in this conversation, we don't communicate privately with people we don't know, period. So it's fine to chat in game about game strategy, but then, and a lot of parents, Lisa, don't even do voice. Parents just don't allow voice chatting with people you don't know. We allow some of it or not. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling. But the point is, I can easily see how those little conversations with girls or young ladies that he was just playing League with could have, and I think they were probably nice young ladies or whatever. But that's where it starts, right? I mean, talk more about that.
It is. And then the scary part is your son is just doing something innocent, like my daughter, just innocently saying, hey, this is really cool, great to play the game with you, et cetera, et cetera. but not everyone has good intentions like your son or my daughter. And
Right.
that's the scary part. I mean, you know, we used to teach our kids about stranger danger in school. Well, now not only do we have to teach about stranger danger in real life, we also really need to teach about stranger danger online, because
Right.
that's even worse, because that's where our kids all live now, is online.
Right. Right. And, you know, sexting can cause shame and destroy opportunities, as you were saying about college admissions, job. It's just, even just when a boy asks a girl out, you know, that girl's parents are checking him out. Um,
Yes.
yeah. But in terms of the stranger danger, and I want to just key in for a minute about this thing that people online may not be who they're pretending to be. There's a common scenario in the, I'm sure you've read Samir Hadunja's book about bullying or seen some of his articles, but that and other places talk about the situation like you have two cheerleading squads at competitive schools. And so maybe one of the cheerleaders gets a face, it's not Facebook, Lisa, what do they do these days? But so,
Snapchat, Instagram,
right.
TikTok.
Right. And basically, you know, the message starts with, wow, it was great to see you at the game. Your squad was beautiful. And it's by, you know, Paul Smith at this other high school. And so this young teenage girl is like, wow, Paul Smith thinks I'm pretty. I'm not even sure who he is, but I'll respond to his friend request. Well, next thing you know, they go at it. And 2 months later, she sent him a half naked picture. And guess what? It turns out, you know, John Smith or Paul, whatever his name is, it isn't him at all. It's the head of the other cheerleading squad. Yeah, it's the girl.
Right.
And so then talk about what that mean girl could do other than, yeah, talk about that a little.
Well, so there's several things the mean girl can do. She can post that online. She can actually hold that picture and just watch. And when that girl is, say, 3-4 years down the road and she's ready to go into college, guess what's going to that college admissions? That's how mean girls play and roll. And I know it sounds really crazy, but if you just Google that, you know, kids holding chats, tweets, and photos and videos, and then releasing them when someone's about to go into the military or go to college, it's incredible. And it's actually heartbreaking that our kids have no empathy, no compassion, no forgiveness whatsoever. It's really frightening. There is one other area I want to touch on, Allison, that's not in my book. And this is something that's kind of new, is what kids are doing with these photos. It used to be you just post them on revenge porn sites, or you send them to everyone on the football team, or that kind of thing. Well, it's gone even further than that. Now they're posting them on a site called Pornhub. If you haven't heard of Pornhub, it's like the #1 free website in the United States and across the world for pornography. And anyone can access it, including your 10 and 12-year-old kids. In fact, it might shock you to know that there's about 43% of the United States kids that are between the ages of 10 and 12 that are visiting Pornhub every week.
What are they doing at Pornhub? I mean, it's bad enough to think somebody's putting their pictures there, but you're saying that the 10, 11, 12-year-olds are intentionally going to Pornhub?
Yes, they're intentionally going.
Wow.
They're going to look for people they know that have posted like a sexy TikTok video, or these photos that we're talking about. That's now the new dump place. You dump it on Pornhub. And even though Pornhub will take them down when they find out and you hound them enough and enough and enough, someone else just takes that photo and puts it up again. They create a new account and put it up again. So there's your daughter who meant just to send like you said, a picture just halfway up, unclothed, and now that's going to be out in the world forever, and it's just going to keep reappearing in places. So that's just another new thing. It's not just, oh, now they're just going to forward it to high school buddies, and it might just show up on a Discord chat. It's not that anymore. It's also showing up in Pornhub.
Wow, that is a disturbing new thing. So
it is.
Yeah. So guys, this is moving fast, and Lisa and I are not here to give you the magic fairy powder you can sprinkle on your weekly plan, or to give you the easy button. Okay, parenting has always been hard work, and we're going to get into now to just a few quick comments of what can we do and how can we protect our kids. But as we near up on the 12:15 mark, and I know some of you have to scoot out, that's fine, but stay on if you can. We'll take some questions. But really, the what can we do is mostly just talk with your kids again and again, right, Lisa? Isn't that kind of the big idea? You want to talk more about that?
That is absolutely the idea. Now, there are tools that you can put on, monitoring
Absolutely.
tools, and you should do that, and you should have parental controls. But I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be very honest, half of the monitoring tools, none of them, not one, will monitor the deleting chat, the deleting Instagram thing that's now out. None of them will take care of that problem. The only way that you're going to, and I won't even say fix this, because there's really not a fix.
Yeah.
But the only way to help protect your child and have them grow up less damaged in this digital society is to be actively engaged. And I know it's
Absolutely.
uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for us to talk about things, but you have to. That's the only silver bullet you've got, is be involved and talk to your kids. Oh, and just one other thing.
Yeah.
When things go wrong, and they will, trust me, they absolutely will go wrong.
Yep.
But whether your kid made a silly mistake or someone else made a mistake, the worst thing you can do is yell and scream at your kids.
Absolutely.
And I am no better than anyone else. There has been a time where I had to go in the closet and scream
Yes.
and wait 10 minutes and then come out and go, can you please explain to me why you thought that was a good idea?
Absolutely.
I'm just, from one
Yes.
mom to other parents.
Right.
That's the worst thing we can do to our kids, is yell and scream at them.
Absolutely.
That's
And
what
right, for those of you who were with us yesterday, and when we were talking, like Peter mentioned, don't just go in there and unplug the computer and say, you can never play this game again. You got to remember, you are in this for the long game.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Parenting has always been hard. What is new to our generation of parents is there's so much that goes on invisibly. Like it used to be, Lisa, I love how you say, if we wanted to deal with drugs or exchange naked pictures, we had to go to a dark alley. We had to tell our parents we were going to walk across the street from the middle school to the mall so that we could do X when really we were going to do Y. But we had to convince mom and dad and give an alibi. And now it's so easy.
This makes it so, they're carrying around an HD video camera connected to the World Wide Web. We did not have this. Thank goodness we didn't. But our kids do. And so we have to learn how to deal with that in a way that's good for them and good for us and good for our relationship with our children. That's what we have to do.
Right. Right. And so when you find, because as Lisa said, you will figure out, if you haven't yet, that your kids have either been exposed to some terrible stuff or that they're sending terrible stuff. Okay. Right. You're going to figure it out. I'm not being I don't want to be too pessimistic, but am I exaggerating? Fearmonger. Am I
I'm not a fearmonger.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Lisa? Am I fearmongering, or can I actually say all parents are? No. If you're raising a kid in 2020, you're going to interact with this, okay?
Yes.
If you first discover it, don't freak out, as Lisa said, and remember you're in for the long game. And so if you just are too emotional, and just don't do anything for 2 or 3 days, because really, I mean, I hope that might be 2 or 3 hours, but just call a friend, make an appointment with your pediatrician, talk with them.
Right.
Find a friend at your church that has well-behaved kids and say, have you ever, I mean, it takes thinking it out, because you've got your personality, your kid's personality. I wish, Lisa, that you could just tell us a quick fix, but I know with my own family, all my kids have different personalities, and there is no such thing as one size fits all, right?
There is not, and that's why I tell people all the time. They always ask me, what tool can I put in place? What can I do? And I'm like, I can tell you to use this monitoring tool or this monitoring tool, or you might want to try this, but the reality is none of those things are silver bullets, and you just have to be actively engaged. And I know that sounds awful, that there's not a way to like put this little fence around them and protect them, but that's the world we live in. And you're supposed to be raising kids that are brave and strong and independent thinkers. And this is just part of the territory that we now all deal with. This is life.
This is life. And so in your book, one of the things I love about the way you have it formatted is at the end of every section, it's got a little, what can we do? And one of the things I'm reading here from the book is you say, when you're talking with your kids, when you found this material that's not good, then you encourage the kids to ask, is this how I want people to see me? Could somebody use this to hurt me? Would I be upset if they shared it with others? So, I mean, there's some great conversational tools, parents, that you can grab hold of, and we can even link to that in the chat. There's this book, of course, Lisa wrote. I think also Samir Hadouja has a conversation guide. But let's just pause here because I know Lisa and I have been doing all the talking. Abby, do we have any questions? What kind of questions do we have about all this?
We have a couple. There's one from Alan who's wondering, why don't we hear more about crimes like the one y'all were talking about with the cheerleader or with the kid at the beginning of the talk?
Good question.
So do you want me to answer
Oh,
that
I
one?
want you to answer that one. Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought when I researched to do the book, not just besides what I knew, when I actually researched, what I found was that this happens, talking to our local police chief, they get at least 5 to 10 calls a day on sexting and bullying.
Mhm.
But the thing is, they can't report on it unless the parent of a minor speaks out, because
Right.
the kids are minors.
Mhm.
So
the victims are
Yeah,
minors, and so
and-
privacy
and what
protection.
parent wants to say, what parent wants to say, oh, my son was sending nude photos, sorry about that.
Yeah, or my daughter's nude photo she was a victim of, right? Let's put that in the newspaper. No, so
Right.
that's why you don't hear about it.
That's what you don't hear.
Yeah, there was an issue just less than 2 years ago of a mom's group I was in. Well, there was a youth organization, and it was discovered that one of the youth had been sharing naked pictures with other youth, and so my opinion was asked, just because they knew I'd written, some of the other parents knew I'd written this white paper, and I said, well, we need to call the police. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, that's what you do. You call the police. So and guess what the police said? They confirmed, yes, this is a crime. And then of course I never really found out all the details of what happened because it's none of my business, but that it is against the law to have and promote child pornography, right? That's not a new, that's been the case since the first pornographic law was written, or not pornographic law, law about pornography.
Right.
But what's new is we just don't realize sexting is spreading pornography of minors. So
and speaking of that, I will say this, there are some states that are changing their laws. So like, for example, in Connecticut, if you're 16 or older, you can sext with anybody you want, as long as the person you're sexting with is 16 or older. And that's all, that sounds great in theory, but the problem that these kids are going to run into is, okay, yeah, now they're legally allowed to do this, but you get an employer or a college admissions officer, they don't care if it's legal or not. They don't want someone in their school or in their place of employment that would potentially cause harm. So reputational damage, they call it reputation management is what it's technically called out in the wild, wild world. Reputation
management.
Yes.
All right, Abby, what other questions do we have?
One more from Samantha. So she's wondering, what are the telltale signs of kids who are hiding sexting? Is there any way to identify that?
Great question. Maybe this is where you talk a little bit about dark apps, or maybe there's so much to say here, Lisa. I'm going to let you take that one.
There is so much to say. So a couple of things I would say, if your kids won't let you see their phone, that's warning sign number 1. And it might not be that they have nude photos. It could just be that there's inappropriate conversation. So don't automatically assume that they're sending inappropriate photos. It could just be that they're having a conversation they don't want you to read. But still, that should be red flag 1.
Right. Red
flag 2 is if you have an Apple, if you go to the App Store and type in secret app or hide photos, scroll down, there's a whole bunch of things that are going to come up. There's a calculator, there's a navigation app, there's a music app. These are apps that actually function like they say they will, but your kids can hide photos, videos, text conversations, web browsing history. If you find that any of those things are installed on your kids' phones, that's game over. For me as a mom, what I tell other moms, if you see any of those apps, they're hiding something, it's time to get their phone, have a conversation, set up some boundaries, and take it from there. But those would be the other 2.
No, that's good. And just to clarify and emphasize, what she's saying here is secret apps and dark apps have this facade. So let's say you pick up your kid's phone and you just say, hey, remind me what apps you have. Which ones do you use a lot? See, if you don't have an Apple, because I don't think you can do that on Android to search for
Hang on, you actually can, but these are some, can you see that?
Yeah.
So see how I have them called vault apps?
Yes.
Well, I know Snapchat and TikTok's on there. Those aren't bald apps, guys, but they
Okay.
are notorious for sexting. But these are some examples that when I go on TV, they plug my phone in and I use these to show parents how their kids are hiding stuff on their phone.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
if you,
And
and
then go ahead.
Google's the same way. If you have an Android, so like I have an Apple, my kids have an Apple, but my husband and one of my other kids has an Android. You can do the same thing if you go, it's Google Play. You can tell as long as you have access to their Play account what they've downloaded, and you can see if they downloaded any of these apps.
Okay. Well, and we'll get you to send us a list of those because some of the text was blurry, and we'll post that in the chat or on the Facebook Live comments. And some of them are listed. The trick with these secret apps and dark apps, they change up a lot, right? So what
Yes.
you're real one of the flags, I mean, it's really complicated, but one clear flag is if they have 2 navigation apps or 2 photo apps or 2 X, whatever. Because the way these apps work is when mom says, oh, I see, and the kid can click on it and it is actually a navigation app. It will actually give you directions. But the kid knows that if he types 103 Mulberry Lane or whatever the password is, it kind of opens up into something else. So it's almost like as soon as there's POS, peering over the shoulder, the kid can maybe be looking at lewd photos in this navigation app, and then suddenly he types POS or again, whatever the unpassword is, right? And then it snap goes back to refer to what looks like a navigation app. In fact, some of these, Lisa, will start like it will actually videotape the mom looking.
Yes. I call it the mom alert. It's actually a security feature that if you're trying to figure out their password, it's taking your picture or video while you're trying to break into their secret app, and it's either emailing them a friend or texting them to let them know what time and who's breaking into their stuff. It's really frightening. But one other quick thing, if you see your kids and you walk into the room and they have their phone and they do this, they put their hand over their phone, if they have an Apple, or if you see them with an Android and they're shaking their phone or they're flipping it over, these secret apps also have a secret close. And what those gestures do is they close the app and it will open one of 3 things the kids have picked, either the app store, whatever their music app is, or a web page. To where if you walked over and said, hey, what are you doing? Let me see your phone. And they hand you the phone, you're not going to see what they were really doing. So that's why I said you really have to be actively engaged with your kids.
Yeah, good old-fashioned parenting. Eye to eye, just help me understand. As I love how you said, Lisa, you went and screamed in the closet and then you came back and said, please help me understand. And
Why
then
did you do
you're
that?
like doing on your tongue.
Right.
Because they need to think. They need us to pause and let them think and listen to and us listen to them. So what other questions do we have, Abby?
It looks like that's it for the moment.
All right, well, we're nearly at the bottom of the hour. So Lisa, let me just ask, what other closing thoughts do you have? It's a scary world for all of us parents, and you're certainly doing a great job raising your crew and helping change the world by educating us parents. Just anything, give us some last nuggets here.
You know, so one of the things that I realized talking to parents and also with my girls, more than my boys, and I'm just being very real and transparent, is when you're having conversations with your kids, especially if it's at dinner time, ask them questions and then just shut up. I mean, that's the nicest way I can say it. Ask them questions and then just shut up. It might take them like 10 minutes to answer you. And if they don't answer you, then ask a different question or ask the same question a different way. But what I've learned is a lot of times your kids want to talk to you, but A, they're afraid you're going to judge them. B, they're afraid you're going to scream at them. And C, like Allison said, they're afraid you're going to walk in, rip the computer out of the wall, and say, you can never, ever have this device again.
Right.
So I would just say, just talk to them, talk to them, talk to them. And don't always talk to them about technology. Ask them what their friends are doing. You know, you've got to really be engaged. That would be my biggest honest thing, is just talk, and talk some more.
And listen some more.
Yes.
Yes, that is wonderful to end on. I remember it reminds me of how you told me, I don't know, a couple of years ago we were talking about this, and you said it's great for a parent to just sit down right next to the kid, and instead of saying, okay, let's talk, look at the device that the kid's looking at and say, hey, what are you doing? Show me how that works. And actually be the student and ask and your kid might be shocked because maybe you've never done that before. Or maybe you and your kid love to both love to play whatever game, Minecraft or League of Legends, and so you already have that connection. But especially if you don't, wouldn't you say, Lisa, especially if you've never done that, let your kid be shocked. Is this my mom?
Right. Like, who is this person and why is she sitting beside me?
Yeah,
You
because
know?
even if you think you don't care about that app or game or whatever, okay, but you care about your kid.
Exactly.
And your kid cares about that game. So
Right.
if you want to learn to know your kid and love your kid and help him want to talk to you, right? Because I love in teaching, we used to say, that famous phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink,
Right.
but you can give him salt, right? That's what
That's
good parents do, is
right.
they give him salt. So that's what good parenting is. Yes, you can't make him drink, but you can give him salt. So part of that giving him salt, making him thirsty to want to talk to you, is ask them about what you know there. Lisa, you said if they won't answer your question, ask them a different question.
Yeah.
And maybe that different question is, tell me how this League of Legends works.
Mm-hmm.
Like totally unrelated to anything about this.
Exactly.
Just because it gets them used to talking to you.
Exactly. One of my favorite things is I'll say to my daughter, and she doesn't play a lot of games, but she has this one game they like to play. It's called Ark of something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll say, okay, so what's the strategy? Can you explain to me how the strategy works in this? Because I like strategy. I like chess. Explain this to me. And then it's just like she was like this, and then it goes to this, and she starts talking.
Right.
So, you just have to find what works for each of your kids. Just like you said, every child is different. I have 4. They're all different.
They're all different.
Parenting one is one way, parenting the other one completely different.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So hats off to all of you parents for giving up your lunch break to chat with Lisa and me. Thanks for coming. Join us next week. We've got 3 more webinars in this series. And on Tuesday, we're going to be diving into video game ratings, how they are rated, how you can trust or not trust those ratings, and how to figure it all out. So thanks so much for coming, Lisa. We're going to put a link to her book in the chat. I recommend this. And just thanks for sharing your insight, Lisa. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.